This video is going to be the start of a new series that I want to try, where it's just me talking to you guys directly about all things poker and life. You know, poker has been such a huge part of my life for so many years and has taught me so much. And so I'm hoping through a more personal approach and through the sharing of some of my thoughts on different topics, I can start some important conversations and also be able to connect with everyone better. So the topic that I chose for today is how to find the fun in poker again. I know many of us, myself included, have had moments where, poker's just lost its fun. Whether it's because you've been losing or you've just burnt out. I think this is something that so many poker players I know have experienced at some point. And for those that know me personally, they can tell you that it's happened to me a lot. There was a long stretch where no matter how much I won, I was still unhappy. And I don't think I was fully aware of it or wanted to admit it. I had been spending so many of my years grinding, just grinding away. I wasn't really enjoying it, and the wins had started to feel expected. The losses, when they inevitably came, they were starting to make me miserable. So let's talk about a few big reasons as well as some practical ways to find that enjoyment again. The first problem is probably one that I think a lot of us are guilty of, and that's having an unbalanced lifestyle and or being in an unhealthy environment. To me, this is more of an obvious one. It's just practically impossible to feel good about doing anything that you're doing if you have an unhealthy, unbalanced lifestyle. And poker is just not going to be as fun when our life is completely consumed by it. We wake up, we play all day, we eat, we go to sleep, and then we do the same thing tomorrow, right? No matter if it's online or you're at the casino all the time, it's going to wear you down and your mental well-being is going to suffer. And the game as a result is just not going to be as enjoyable. If you think back to the very first time that you first started learning the game, why do you think the game was so much more fun back then? Why do players always say that once they become a pro, the game loses a little bit of its fun? I think that's a good question to think about. I think the fix to this problem is also kind of straightforward. We have to develop healthier lifestyle habits. That means dedicate time for workouts. That means developing the discipline to set boundaries for yourself. Whether that's limiting your poker sessions to specific hours or, taking regular breaks. If you're continue to play under really terrible conditions and you're not having fun, that's when you continue to lose the most. I think in all the sessions where I've had some of my biggest losses, I was probably already agitated about something and I wasn't enjoying myself before I started losing. So we have to build that discipline and create a healthier routine. I think all these things are going to help bring back that balance. Then, it helps us naturally start to let us enjoy the game again. So another reason why I think poker loses its fun for a lot of players, this one might sound a little bit darker, but I think it's the truth. And I think it has to do with our never-ending desire for wanting more money, more success, more fame. However much we acquire, it never feels like it's enough and it doesn't bring us any fulfillment. And I'm sure you experienced this is like when you win, it feels like it takes more and more for us to feel that same excitement. We want bigger and bigger wins, and when we lose, our losses, they start to hit us harder and harder. And so in a sense, we kind of all have like this dysfunctional relationship with poker, and the game is just not fun anymore. One way that I found that helps me is to consciously shift your focus when you're playing. So instead of fixating on the outcome of each hand or on the monetary gains or losses, we make an effort to focus purely on the strategic part of the game, the decision part of the game, and we kind of let that be its own reward. Losing is never going to feel fun, right? But I think instead of allowing the results of each hand automatically be as simple as like, okay, we lose, we feel sad, we win, now we're happy again. I think it helps to reframe it. Instead of having so much expectation on the outcome that we're hoping for each hand, how can we approach each hand like as an opportunity to improve our decision-making skills? I think having this mindset and seeing each decision as kind of like its own little puzzle that we need to solve keeps it feeling fresh, and it keeps it fun because then we're not just playing on autopilot and letting each outcome dictate our emotional state. Try to see our losses as part of the challenge and also as an opportunity to try to improve. I think in that process is how we can rediscover the fun. the last reason I thought of for why I think we stop having fun in poker. So we've all heard of the expression that time is money, right? Well, I think that after you've been a serious poker player for a certain amount of time, it just starts to feel like you're trading your time for money. And, except there's no guaranteed payoff. So, if you're not at the table grinding, you're just not going to be making money. And if you're grinding all the time, but your losses are starting to outweigh your wins, not only is poker not fun, it hurts. Because, what you're essentially doing is you're losing all your time, and for what you're getting back, you realize it's not a good exchange at all. When we become fully aware of how finite our time is, that's when this realization really hits hard. Because it did for me in the last few years. I've realized all those years I put in every day playing at the casino, I'm not getting that time back. It's gone. And because I love poker, I don't have regrets about that. But it did teach me that I think the best way to counter this is to find other forms of value elsewhere. This is the reason why I think that a lot of recreational players are so much better at losing with a smile than all the hardcore grinders, right? Is because they allocate a lot of their time doing other things and other things of high value outside of poker, and they have other sources of fulfillment. They're not trading all their time for poker, and so the game is still incredibly fun for them. And this kind of circles right back to what we were talking about earlier about having balance. What you can try is to blend poker with other experiences, new experiences. That kind of allows you to keep playing while still finding value in other areas of life. So right now for me, that's kind of translating into playing more poker tournaments. Luckily, because of how fast poker is growing internationally, I found that combining poker with travel is like a super easy way for me to keep the game fresh. Wherever we are in our poker journey, whether you're going through a rough downswing or you just feel like you're not enjoying the game as much anymore, I hope you're able to get something positive and constructive out of this video. And if you guys like this new format, like and subscribe, drop a comment below. Feel free to suggest any other topics that are important for you. Take care, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. 喜欢我的影片，不要忘记按赞、订阅、打开小铃铛。